Hi everybody, my name is Taylor Hamlin. I am the South Dakota Region 3 Coordinator for History Day. I'm also a teacher here at Georgia Morris Middle School in Pierre, South Dakota. I've already made a couple videos and hopefully everyone is doing well when it comes to preparing for judging. I am definitely excited to have everything go well on the 11th of March on Monday. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to let me know. I'd love to help you out. One thing that came to my attention was some judges were asking about the theme, Triumph and Tragedy. If you're doing judging for essays and websites, you've already started judging and you might have noticed that 20% of the project grade, if you will, is the annual theme. And this year it is Triumph and Tragedy. Just to give you a very quick background, the theme changes every single year. Last year was Conflict and Compromise. The year before that was Taking a Stand. This year's Triumph and Tragedy. And we do that so we can keep History Day projects fresh and different. We definitely want kids to see their project being very original. So this just kind of helps us bring focus to a certain area of history. It can also help kids really with their thesis and argument. So knowing that, I realized that I didn't really do a good job of explaining Triumph and Tragedy to our essay and website judges because they're already judging. And for people who are coming in with the exhibits, documentaries, and performances, I want to make sure you listen to this message too, just so you can be a little more comfortable judging that category. So what I have on my screen here is the theme book, is what we call it. And I'm not, it's 64 pages long, as you can see. Definitely not going to show you all 64 pages. I'm only going to show you 2. If you want to read the rest of it, you're more than welcome to. What I'm going to do is, in the video description, I have pasted this link. I'm only going to show you pages 8 and 9 because really, that's actually what I only showed that to my students along with one of the lesson plans. But I want to show you just page 8 and 9 because they really get into what Triumph and Tragedy means. If you just read those 2 pages, I think you'll be comfortable with the theme and you'll be able to kind of check projects to see if they've done anything with that theme. So scrolling down, it talks about Triumph and Tragedy at the very beginning. Also, I'm not going to read word for word. If you can feel free to do that yourself. Scrolling down, though, it gives a very brief example, or it gives a brief description of Triumph and Tragedy. It talks about how every project needs to have at least a little bit of Triumph and Tragedy in it. And really where it gets good is this part where it says, what is triumph, what is tragedy? So we want to definitely understand those 2 definitions. The kids were explained a lot, or explained to a lot as far as what is triumph, what is tragedy. We've done a lot of assignments in class that revolved around it. We've taken a lot of the historical topics that we learned about and tried to focus it under the lens of Triumph and Tragedy. So the kids are very used to it, or at least most of them are. And a lot of the things I challenged them to do was take their interests and combine it with that theme of Triumph and Tragedy. And can they bring that up throughout their projects? So scrolling down, we have our definitions. If you keep going down, you'll see where it says here, can one person's triumph be another's tragedy? And I like the way they do this because if you see this red words, and I'm just going to scroll down a little bit more. Going down through page 9, there are more questions just like it. So I like that because they actually kind of organize and show you what Triumph and Tragedy could be like. So that's why I say, if you just read these first 2 pages, you'll really understand Triumph and Tragedy fairly well. I think you'll be able to understand how Triumph and Tragedy can work. And again, we want to make sure the kids are addressing it in their projects. It's only 20% of their project, though, so it's not the most important part. The most important part, really, is the historical quality, which, another video explained that, and there's a lot of resources for that. And really, I just wanted to show you this just because it is it's an important part, but it's good to recall that if students have included it, then they're probably okay. They don't need to explain Triumph and Tragedy in every single paragraph or sentence. That's not the biggest point of their project. They have a thesis, and that's really the big thing they want to focus on. But that being said, if you have a project that has not included Triumph and Tragedy at all, I don't believe that project should make it to the next level, just because they left out a pretty huge chunk of what they were supposed to do. Now, that doesn't mean they made a bad project. It just means that they didn't fulfill our criteria as well as they could have. And if you're judging and you have 2 projects, and you're like, oh man, both of these are really good. Triumph and Tragedy could be a really good way to tie break things. Like if one project, does a great thesis and the other project does too, ask yourself, well, how did they both do with Triumph and Tragedy? And you're like, well, this one didn't mention it at all. Or they only mentioned a little bit in their thesis and they never really came back to it. That could be a really good deciding factor. So I just want to bring that up. Feel free to read this source. I want to keep this video short because a lot of you have already done a lot of reading and work for me. But if you have any questions about this stuff, please let me know. Also remember that the thing I'm looking at right now, this source book, I'm on page 8, and this link is in the video description, so please check that out. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help. We are doing pretty well. I've gotten a lot of questions just about kind of small things, and everything's been answered. So, if you're having a problem, please don't hesitate to ask me. I would rather know now rather than the day before the contest or during the day of the contest. So again, thank you for everything. You guys take care. Ask me questions if you need help. Bye.